What's up YouTube? It's me, Jess, and I'm an opera singer. So today's video is part 2 of the Star Spangled Banner series that I have going on. If you haven't seen part 1, I highly recommend you watch that before watching this one. In part 1, I talk about the history of the Star Spangled Banner and how the Star Spangled Banner came to be, which I think is very informative when going to watch performances of the Star Spangled Banner. Without further ado, this is Eric Church and Jasmine Sullivan singing the Star Spangled Banner at the 2021 Super Bowl. Let's go. Ooh, cool.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we at the twilight.
Oh, vibrato?
Last
Oh, I hate to stop here. I know Jasmine Sullivan's voice, so I actually have a feeling that the two of them together are gonna sound really good, despite how starkly different country singing is to R&B singing, and I'm referring to the sound production. So Mr. Church has a very cool, calm, collective vibe about him. And there's a very steady relationship between the melody and the guitar and then his vocal melody. And you can tell from the very beginning, from the get-go, that this was going to be a non-traditional performance. Just by having a guitar is non-traditional. Now his voice is very indicative of country singing. And he's doing cool things by really playing around with closed and open vowels, and in a very exaggerated way. For me, this was very noticeable on the phrase "by the dawns." So the word "by" actually has a diphthong, meaning it has two vowels, one right after the other. A-e, ba-e. But when he sang it, he didn't give it a diphthong. He just said, "by the dawns," which is very indicative of country singing. And when he sang that ah vowel for the word ba the dawns, it wasn't a pure open ah vowel. He actually covered it, which closed it just a bit. But he kept the sound very forward, and so it sounded very bright. Again, another characteristic of country singing. And then when he continued with that phrase, he actually gave the word dawn a diphthong. And the word dawn doesn't have a diphthong. It just goes dawn. But he sang down. And what he did is he started with an open vowel with that ah, but it wasn't a truly open vowel. And I am going to take a very, let's say, educated guess, because I know Jasmine Sullivan's voice. When you hear Jasmine Sullivan sing an ah, you're going to hear the difference and how open her ah vowels are in comparison to his vowels. And it's not that one is better than the other, not at all. I'm just trying to show you all the differences. So when he was singing dawn, he sang it with a slightly open ah vowel. It was a closed open vowel, let's say. And then he immediately closed it to go to that O vowel, dawns, and that O vowel was shot pretty far back, which is, again, very indicative of country music sound. Let's just rewind to when he sang that phrase, and hopefully you can hear what I just explained.
You see, by the dawn's early light, what so proudly we
Love the guitar.
at the twilight's last gleam. Broad stripes and bright stars. From this sky, o'er the red hearts we once were so glad.
Oh. Oh my god. Oh my god, Jasmine. did not come to play. Her voice sounds so good against that guitar. Jasmine's voice, okay, it's so interesting. She is doing something polar opposite to Church's sound, but also doing one thing that is the exact same as Church's sound. It's so interesting. So the thing that she is doing polar opposite is Jasmine is using a lot of open vowels and like true open vowels. So when Jasmine was singing "And Bright Stars," you heard very open vowels.
And bright stars.
And the difference between the open vowels that she is singing versus the open vowels that Eric Church is singing is when Eric Church is singing his open vowels, and I say this because I'm going to explain. Open vowels, he is singing it with a shorter vocal tract in comparison to what Jasmine is doing. So when Church is singing, let's say, "By the Dawn," and "by" has an open I and closes to an E vowel, but when he sings that, he shortens his vocal tract. So instead of singing "by the dawns," when I just did that, my mouth was more of an oval shape, which lengthens your vocal tract and makes the vowel more open, let's say. But when Church sings that very same word, what he does is he sings it more on a lateral mouth position. "By the dawns," and what that does is that shortens the vocal tract and makes it sound a little bit more closed in comparison to "by the dawn," by the dawns. I hope you can hear the differences in those two. But those are the polar opposites between their voices. Now, interestingly, what Jasmine Sullivan is doing that is the exact same as Eric Church is when she is singing on her open vowels, at the end of the notes, she'll close it off immediately, and you'll hear the sound shoot pretty far back in the back of her mouth, and it gives this stark difference of going from a very open vowel to an immediate close vowel. And I noticed this particularly on the words "perilous" and "gallantly." When she chooses to kind of shoot the sound in the back of her mouth, she's actually doing that by utilizing an I vowel. And it's less noticeable on the word "perilous" because "perilous" just so happens to have an I vowel after the first vowel, peri. I feel that her intention was to actually close the vowel on the per, but it just so happened that there was an I vowel coming next. But it was way more obvious on the word "gallantly." When she sang "gallantly," she started with an ah, "we're so and then when she wanted to close it, she shot the sound back by utilizing an I vowel. It's hard for me to do in like head voice, mixed voice. It's so much easier, I don't know why, in chest voice to do this technique. I'm going to just insert a clip of her singing the word "perilous" and the word "gallantly" so that you can hear the stark differences when she's singing that original true vowel of the word and then shooting it back to give just a different style.
Through the pain, we're so bad.
I hope you were able to hear that, and that's something that Church is doing too, as well as a lot of other country artists. And it sounds really, really good. It's a really cool effect. Continuing with this sentence, "through the perilous fights." The one nitpicky thing I would say is I really don't care for when singers break the word "perilous."
Through the pain,
I would much prefer to hear the entire phrase saying throughout, "through the perilous fights," instead of "through the perilous fights." For me, breaking up that word or breathing in between that word doesn't do anything emotionally to the overall sentence, but that's just my opinion. For me, I think she took that breath because she didn't have enough air to get through the phrase. Maybe that's just how she practiced it. One thing I have to commend Jasmine on is her precision for her riffs and her runs. Her riffs are not only so precise, but they're creative, and that's hard to do. Her riffs are so creative, her runs are so creative, and they're fun. And I have a lot of respect for what she's doing with her riffs and her runs, because she executes them in a very well manner in the extremes of her registers. So she can do great riffing and running in her higher register, but she can also do fantastic riffing in her deeper lower register. And for me, I feel like that's not something you come by very often. Especially being able to riff and run in your lower register. It's kind of hard to get your voice to move that low when that register, that tessitura, isn't something that is naturally comfortable for you as a singer. And she does that wildly good. One thing I do want to point out is the very last section that we just heard is actually a question. And I feel a lot of artists don't convince me that they're asking a question. And that is extremely hard to do, because this sentence is very long, or this question is very long and very wordy. So the question is, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous nights over the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming? Right? That is very wordy and very long.
Broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. O'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming.
And the way that it's dragged out in the song makes it extremely hard to convey as a sentence. I think my way of doing it would be to make it very obvious that I was asking a question at the very beginning of the question, whose broad stripes? Make that different to make it sound like a question, and then continue having that that idea that this is a question throughout the entire phrase, and then especially at the very last word, streaming. Woo! This is my favorite phrase.
We're so gallantly streaming.
Woo!
And the rockets reckless.
Nice. Woo! Oh my god. Oh my god. Wow. Woo! Woo! It was the same note. Wow. Oh my god, sorry, I have to pause here. I think they sound so great together, and the reason why I think they complement each other really well is because you have someone who is representational of more of like the foundational sound, and then you have someone who is doing all of this crazy stuff with the melody and riffs and runs. It's kind of a lot when you have two people doing the same thing. If you had two people doing all of these riffs and runs within the melody, it can be a little bit too much. But then on the opposite side, if you had two people who are just very chill, kind of both playing the foundational role, that's kind of boring. So I really like the roles that each person is playing. Man, it sounds, Jasmine Sullivan, it sounds like she is singing so high. And I remember when doing research on this song, that this song was heavily criticized when it was first released during the early stages of the 19th century for being too high and too hard to sing. And what would often be done is that orchestras or the performer would sing it a whole step down in the key of A flat major. So the original key of the song is in B flat major, and they are singing it in the original key, B flat major. But the reason why it sounds so high when Jasmine Sullivan is singing it is because when she is singing in her upper range, in her higher register, she's bringing a good amount of weight up there, she's bringing a good amount of chest voice up there, and she also brings in her rasp in her higher register as well as her darker tone. And then on top of that, it's very easy to hear the depth and the resonant in Jasmine Sullivan's lower tone, but also just her tone overall. So when you put those two together and you hear the natural, let's say, roundness and depth within her voice, and then you go and hear her bust out, she was busting out F5s in full chest voice, it's like, whoa. Not only do you have this beautiful lower register, but you're also just soaring through these F5s with a good amount of chest voice up there. So to me, it makes that F5, which I don't want to say isn't high, because for some people that is high, but it sounds a lot higher than it actually really is. I gotta commend her on that, because they seriously sound so flawless. I want to rewind to re-listen to her belting out that F5. Oh my god, the interpreter! Woo! Woo! Okay. Huh. Wow. Okay, pause. I actually want to go back to... Wait, before I say anything, the interpreter. The interpreter had so much energy. He was vibing off of everything he was saying. I want to go back to what I'll call the coda, the tail ending of the song, because this whole part is super tricky. Because the way that it's been done a lot is singers want to have the freedom in the sense to do their riffs and their runs, or the freedom of the tempo to kind of stretch things out. But at the same time, it's very orchestrated. You can hear the orchestra and the band. I don't know if there's also a track behind them. So there still needs to be some structure within the tempo to keep everyone in line. And I felt that... Church was, I don't know if it was just me, but I felt he was slightly off tempo on the words of the right before the big brave. I'm going to rewind to just that part to see if it was just me or what. I guess it works, but I just don't care for it. I would have liked to hear of come a little bit sooner, instead of that of the like close together and held out. I don't know. I didn't really care for that. I would have liked to hear and the home of the, with a little bit more, I guess, evenness within it. But it worked for them. To me, it sounded a little bit off, but they were able to keep it going. So kudos to them, because this part is extremely hard to do. Also, if you didn't know, the very last couple of phrases is also a question. So, oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave over the land of the free and the home of the brave? Huh, doesn't that make you listen to it a little bit differently? And I do want to say one thing that I am nitpicky about just with a word in this song is the word or. So the word is over, but the way that the poet wrote it, he put an O with an apostrophe and then an R to be or. But a lot of singers just say or. I would like to actually hear a vowel before the R in order to better get across that it's supposed to be over and not or. I would like to hear or the land of the free instead of or the land of the free. But that's just another nitpicky thing that I've noticed as I've watched so many national anthems. I hope you liked the breakdown of this performance. If you haven't watched part 1, make sure that you watch part 1. I'll link it down below. If you liked all that you saw, make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below and leave a comment below of what you thought about this performance. I do ask that everyone stay positive and not bring a negative tone. It's okay if you didn't like it. Just don't bash anybody, please. I like to keep my channel with a positive vibe. Also, make sure you turn on those bell notifications so you know every time I put up a video on YouTube. I've got some great links in my description box below. I've got links to old performance analysis videos that I've done in the past. I've also got ways that you can connect with me more on a personal level, and that is through Patreon and through my Discord. If you'd like to join my Patreon, it only starts at $3 a month, and we have a lot of fun over there. I've also got a new link in my description box where you can sponsor your own video. So if there is a video that you really want me to react to, then you can go ahead, click that link, and sponsor the video, and you'll fill out a form. It's all very easy to do. And then that form will be submitted to me, and your video will be made the priority for the top of my list. If you didn't know, I have an extremely long list. So that is a great way that you can get your video up and on my channel in a quick manner. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you soon. Bye!